Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my wrap-up for May 2023. This has been kind of a weird couple of months. I've been out of commission with a weird eye strain injury, and I'm not out of the weeds yet. I still don't even know officially what's wrong with me, but I'm able to do a little bit more here and there, so I thought I would film a wrap-up. What I have been able to do is listen to audiobooks, and in May I started 12 to 15 different books. So a lot of this wrap up will be actually what I finished the month prior and a couple that I was able to get through this month. Got my little handy list here. The first thing I got through, Magic in the Blood. It's the second book in the Ali Beckstrom series. One of the worst urban fantasies that I have ever read. This one, it was marginally better than the first one, it had more of a plot, but still the magic system was not fully realized. The character is kind of an idiot. They were kind of playing with a memory loss thing, which I thought felt really out of place, and the romance was incredibly unrealistic. The guy kept asking her, when can I take you out on a date? Which felt completely out of place given the context of the scenes that they were in and the supposedly serious things that were going on around them. So I almost didn't finish this one. I feel like if I'm ever going to continue, because I do have a masochistic tendency when it comes to urban fantasy books, if I ever want to continue, I needed to finish it, but it was by the skin of my teeth. I did not enjoy this one at all. As it happens, I own the entire collection on audio because I picked it up during one of Audible's really good sales a couple of years ago, so I'm stuck with them, but I may just decide to DNF the series until I figure out if, I don't know, till I read all the other better ones first. I gave that one a 2 out of 5 star only because it was marginally better than the first one, and I gave that one a 1 star. Second thing I finished, Ogres by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This one, my patrons and I read for Patreon Book Club, and my eye injury knocked me out of commission before I was able to comment on it, but I really enjoyed this one. It's written in second-person perspective, which I know throws a lot of people off. But see, the thing is if it's written in second person for a purpose, it serves the story, it enhances the story, then I'm all for it. And I love it when authors get creative with writing styles and everything. I really don't mind the experimentation. It has never bothered me. And this is a really short book. I really like the ideas and the concepts in it. Yeah, the ending kind of made it all come together for me, and I really enjoyed it. I want to take a minute to thank my patrons because I kind of fell off the planet, and this was my own book club buddy read, and they kind of soldiered on without me, and they've just been really compassionate, and I'm very grateful for how they have supported me through this kind of really weird medical time in my life. Moving on, Art of Discarding. This is one of those random books I picked up for free during one of Audible's sales, and I'm glad I got it for free because it was one of the most awful decluttering books I've ever read. Nothing useful came out of this book for me, and I don't think anything useful would have come out of it had had it been one of the first ones that I picked up. I ended up listening to the first introduction, what is the chapter about, the first couple of sentences, and then skipping to the action plans at the end of each section, just because I had listened to maybe 60% of the book and was just feeling like I was gonna claw my ears off my head. Yeah, I did not enjoy this one at all. But on it, it says millions of copies have sold worldwide. And I just don't get it. This is, so many better books than this one. So that was a bust. One of the highlights of the month, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Oh my gosh, I love this one. From the very first page, the prologue, I thought it was presented in a different way. She kind of hung a lantern on how most typical how most typical romances go, and the fact that they're really predictable, and there's a bunch of things about them that are just stereotypical, and you kind of get sick of the same old. And then she immediately introduces how hers is adds a twist to that whole framework, and I loved it. I love the snarky banter, and I especially love the relationship, more so than the actual romance, between the main character and her sister. I thought that was an equally highlighting point of the story. Yeah, one of my favorites. It kept me engaged when I was going through the worst of the pain with what I was dealing with, and kept me sane a little bit. So I really enjoyed that one. The Law by Jim Butcher. This one was just meh, okay. I really didn't love Battleground. I did enjoy peace talks, but it just felt like he was doing too much. There was just so much going on. He didn't really take a breath. There was no fluctuation. It was just flatlined intense the whole way through, which, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was just okay. This book, if anything, it's a short story novella that takes place after Battleground. And what it does is it allows us to check in with Harry Dresden and see kind of where he's at after the aftermath of Battleground. So in that regard, it's kind of worth reading, but I'm sure all of that will be covered in whatever next book comes out. So yeah, just an interesting little quick story. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because it is a Dresden book and I do love them. Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey. I picked it up, read about 35% of it, and actually this was an audiobook and it's narrated by Michael Kramer, so it was kind of jarring to have like Mistborn suddenly be talking about the Arches National Park and Moab and places that I've been. And I liked it at first. I really wanted something that kind of transported me to a new place and really grounded me in desert living, especially like several decades ago. And the first few chapters really did that for me. But then the narrator started getting inconsistent and it kind of wrecked the whole atmosphere for me. And I really didn't like all of the anecdotal stories that had nothing to do with his experience, but more were like stories that he heard while he was at the bars in Moab. It's kind of where it started to go. I'm interested enough that I might pick it up here and there going forward, but in the rotation of everything I was listening to, it was the last one that I wanted to pick up every single time, and I'm like, that's a sign that I need to DNF it for now. For Project A to Z, I finished Hidden Empire by Kevin J. Anderson, book 1 in the saga of the Seven Sons. And I'll talk more about that in the couple of videos you're going to get once I have a chance to edit. But it was okay. It was a good book. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 star. We really didn't spend enough time with each character for me to really care about any of them. But the overall composition of it was really cool, and yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, but not enough to pay like a full credit for an audiobook. So we'll see if I can get some deals or if my library gets them at some point. Fablehaven 2. Boop. This is a reread. I have read that series so many times, but I haven't read them within the last 10 to 15 years. And so now my memory is a little bit foggy on exactly what happens in each book. And I'm finding it is the perfect time to go back and explore them. I'm loving the reread. Seth is an idiot, but he's also really smart. I don't know how you can have both, but he is annoying me a lot less this time around than he did before. And I just love the magical creatures. I love the adventure of it. He is really good at creating a sense of wonder and making you feel like you're actually getting to go on all of these adventures. I love it. I love Fablehaven. So that one has been really fun. Continues to be a 5 out of 5 star read for me. The only thing is so the justification they have for why they have to go do the thing has never sat well with me. Like, I think the thing would be better left alone. Like, don't do the thing. Leave the thing alone, and then everybody else is happy, but then you don't have a book. So, yeah, rant over. I finished Jade Legacy. This one, okay, so I have been a little kind of meh about the first 2 books in the series. I liked the first one a lot better than the second one. And I was complaining about the first one that it wasn't quite as gritty as I thought it should be. I was complaining about the second one that there were a couple of scenes that I thought felt really pointless. Like, what's the whole point of this? And then she took the grit and times it by 10 and put it in this book. And then she took those seemingly pointless scenes in the second book and made them have an impact on the third book. Like, she was actually building to a specific moment through what she was doing in the second book. It was all set up. And so it's kind of weird. This series, I've never read anything quite like it before. It's almost as if the first 2 books are like prologues and they're building up, and then this is the main story in this book here. And I think that's why everybody loves this book, and I am now among them. I thought it was awesome. There were so many things. The pacing of this thing, it takes place over the course of a couple of decades, and you're really just integrated with this family as they handle the politics of the Jade Society, and it's just really cool. And the moments that gut punch you, I mean, they really have an impact because the pacing is so perfectly placed, and I thought it was awesome. I enjoyed the whole thing. I don't love it quite as much as everybody else, but I can see why people love it so much. And so I'm landing at a 4, maybe a 4.5 out of 5 stars because the scenes that were really good were like really good. But yeah, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Great. Next up, By a Silver Thread by Rachel Aaron. So I love the Heartstrikers series. It's a 5-book series. I actually thought books 4 and 5 could have been combined into one, so I do have a little bit of criticism of it, but book 3 is one of my all-time favorites. I love it. I love the hodgepodge of urban fantasy meets high fantasy on like a modern setting. It's really cool. And then you get a spin-off, the DFZ, which is like dragon shifters in an urban setting meets storage wars. So like they buy these units and they sell off whatever they can from inside of them. And I just think it's so cool. I love it. It was perfectly paced, and that entire trilogy remains one of my favorite things from Rachel Aaron, which, by the way, I've read almost everything she has produced, and she's one of my favorite authors. I say all that because By a Silver Thread is yet another DFC, same world as Heartstrikers, DFC series, DFC Changeling, book number 1, and I did not like it at all. Like, the prologue was really good. I was super interested in it, and I thought it set the stage, but like the nature of the Changeling was not what I thought it would be, and I ended up really not liking the direction. I also thought it was a full-on urban fantasy read, but it went more romancy. And here's the thing, I don't mind romance. I actually liked the romance dynamic in this one, but I thought it was at the sacrifice of really taking time to build the plot, really taking time to develop the villain. And I felt like we spent maybe 70% of the book focused on that, and only 30% on everything else, and it kind of showed. Another thing I really have a hard time with are the Fae. I've read so many books where the Fae Queen acts the exact same way and is just like a talking head, like paper thin persona. Like there's no depth behind her at all. She's just like, I'm evil and I'm beautiful and I'm going to destroy all of your lives, that kind of thing, you know? And I'm sick of reading about that kind of thing. And that is all that this book is about, is a battle between the Fae. And I didn't even know there were Fae in her world. Like, I want more about the dragons. I feel like she missed an opportunity there to, I don't know. Even the city itself is more interesting than what I was reading in here. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. This one was a struggle to finish. I would have DNF'd it at about the 60% mark had it been any other author other than Rachel Aaron. But see, she's one of my favorites, and so I kept reading. But yeah, hated it. Ugh. And then finally, last one I read, Dead Man's Hand by James Butcher, Jim Butcher's son. And when I first opened this book and read the prologue, I thought, wow, that was an awesome prologue. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I love the character that we met. And then the first chapter, we met a character who I did not like at all. And I thought the situations were ridiculous. I thought the whole setup was poor. I didn't like anything about it. I know why it was in there. Like, it all has a reason and a meaning. But I did not enjoy this story. There was a lot of, like, whining and bantering back and forth. And it felt really immature given the context of the story. And, okay, but I almost DNF'd it. But I thought the writing style itself is actually okay, and it's better than that Devin Monk book that I had read earlier in the month, so I'm like, at least it has something going for it. And there was one plot point that I was really interested to see how it resolved. So I did keep reading, even though I threatened to DNF, and I ended up giving it about a 3-star. Like, it's right in the middle of all the urban fantasies that I've read. It wasn't awesome, but it wasn't, like, the worst one. I don't know if it was worth continuing reading for. The thing is like the prologue was really good, and then the epilogue at the end, holy cow, was that really well done, to the point where I'm sitting here like, I was almost going to DNF the book, but now I'm kind of considering reading the next one because the epilogue was that good. Yeah, I actually landed at 2.5 out of 5 stars. It was better than just okay, but I'm not sure if I liked it. Shoot, I forgot one. Animorphs. I'm rereading the Animorph series, and I'm on book 8, and this series continues to be exceptional. I thought it was just because I loved it as a kid, but there are some things that she's doing in here that I think are really intelligent and kind of like, wow, that's more profound than a middle grade book should be, but I love it. So yeah, very slowly making my way through this series also. That would have been a bad oversight because I love that one. That's my lineup for the month. That's everything I actually finished. Not being able to do anything for several weeks has given me opportunity to kind of reevaluate how I am running the channel and everything. And this is everything that I read this month, regardless if it's for a project that you haven't seen filmed yet, because I do have a couple of Read, Burn, Hoard things in here. I have a couple of library TBR things. And it was just getting too confusing. Like, do I talk about them in the wrap-ups for the month that the video aired, or do I talk about them for the month where I actually physically read the book? And I think I'm switching back over to the month that I physically read the book. And if you want more details, you can read the vlogs as they come out, because I do go into it a little bit more at length. But it was just getting too confusing, and I'm trying to simplify everything. That is kind of like the whole purpose of my life right now, is to simplify things for myself. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye.